Everything you watch, read, or listen to is manipulating your energy. You're being lied to about the world you live in. You're being lied to about your history. You're being lied to about who you really are. Question everything.
So Gentile doesn't mean non-Jew. Gentile means giantile. It means gentilis. It's from Latin. It means the descendant of giants. That's what Gentiles are. Yeah. So
why are we called Gentile then?
Because we're all Nephilim descendants.
Oh,
why
really?
do you have canine teeth in your mouth? Because you have Canaanite blood in you. So
yeah, that is definitely an interesting take.
That's the stuff I talk about, like when I go into genetic stuff and I explain it to people. But you got to know the like historical context of like the genome and like the thing. Like I mean, like think about this. You know, the Nephilim are like how much? You know a lot about Nephilim, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, as much as the average person who knows about Nephilim. I'm not deep in it like you guys are.
Sweet. But. So like, why do you think they're called? People are called Spanish. So Pan-ish. Ish means like pan. Hispanic. Pan. Who's Pan? The goat god. The half goat, half man. Pan. Ik means people. Ik means people. Hispanic means people of Pan. Spanish means people like Pan. So you're like, well, that's weird. Why are they called like Pan? People like Pan and people of Pan? Pretty weird, right? Well, when you start looking into it, well, between France and Spain was the Basque people. And the Basque people were a group of people that are to this day have no land that is declared as their own. But they were the Frankish army tried to defeat them, and they beat them in the Battle of Roxphenox or whatever. They threw rocks on the Frankish people, and they destroyed them. Like the army tried to come in, and they couldn't conquer them. How big of rocks did these people throw? They threw rocks to defeat an entire army of people trying to conquer that region. And that's why the region between France and Spain is like called Basque country. And there's like no definitive line there in that space because they couldn't overtake these people. Because the people between France and Spain had conjoined with another race of people called the Gentil. So it's Jentil, which is where we get Gentile. And if you look up the Gentil, this is it tells you straight up on Wikipedia. You can look at the Wikipedia page, Jentil. But if you don't spell it the right way, it won't come up. You have to spell it the right way, and it will come up, and you'll read the stories of the Gentil, which is where we get Gentile. It's literally the same root derivation. And so it actually is from the Latin gentilis. So it means giant. And they were hairy, Chewbacca-like creatures. So like I explain this, and it's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know if you ever here, I'll just share my screen here. You want to see something crazy? Watch. Let me just show it to you.
Well, I thought in that Basque region, I thought that's where the Rh negative bloodline comes from, right?
Yeah, so Rh negative is like the most prominent in Basque region. But all you got to do is look at this. Gentil, okay?
Oh man, that's a little Bigfoot Ewok.
Exactly, right? Okay, so it says the Gentil or the Gentilok with the Basque plural are a race of giants in Basque mythology. This word meaning Gentile from Latin gentilis was used to refer to the pre-Christian civilization, and in particular the builders of the megalithic monuments to which the Basque mythological legends in the Marquis are involved to. Maroc are involved in. The Gentil were believed to have lived alongside the Basque people. They were hairy and so tall they could walk in the sea and throw rocks from one mountain to another. This is actually where you get the word ford to ford the ocean means to cross the ocean, like by walking to ford something. So the word ford means like it's like a Nephilim descended name. It's like they were so tall they could just ford across things. And so the sea could throw rocks from one mountain to another. The stone throwing has led to several tales and explanations of ancient stone builders and the large isolated rocks like this. These are called the dolmen. And there's a lot of there's two different kinds of dolmen, but this is one type of dolmen. Those are tables, bro. That's a table. You ever
Oh,
seen
that's a
those?
table. Yeah, yeah.
That's
I
a
mean, I talk
giant
about those
table.
often on my show. I just didn't.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
So
look at them
if
as
you just
tables. I look at them as portals.
no. These are tables to grind your bones to make your bread. So there's two different types. There's dolmen sleeves, and dolmen. So like, check this out. I'll just show it to you. So these are dolmen. These are, you can't go in them. This is not like designed for people to like necessarily fit in there. Okay, like this dude's not going in this. So these are not the most accommodating. And if you notice, most of them, they'll always be really flat on the top. These are giant tables. This is grind your bones to make my bread. This one's not. Somebody made that in their yard. But this is literally what this is. It was like grind their bones to make my bread. These are tables that they use to eat people on. This is what this is. This is a giant table. And so the giants would use these tables and the dolmen tables. And now there's other kinds of things they call dolmen. They're not the same. This is not the same thing as this. Okay. This and this are two different things. Okay. These are giant tables for eating people. These are little dolmen. I don't know why they give them the same name because they're not remotely the same. These are tiny. You can't even fit into some of these. In fact, this is where you get the term dolmen sleeves. Like, look at, they're like little, and these rocks, some of the rocks are so big. These ones aren't too big, but some of them are so big. But the hole's so tiny, you can't, that's miniatures. How did I get to miniatures now? But the hole's so small, you can't even fit through it. Like this one was an entrance, but they busted out the other wall on the side of it. So like we've busted holes and tried to break through the rocks to get into these. You know, we have like tools and stuff nowadays, but back then they didn't necessarily have that. So there was like these little dolmens. Like, look at this one. Dude, look how thick these rocks are. And yet we can't fit in that hole. So something stronger than us, but smaller than us built this. Okay. Like, look at this. Something hollowed out the whole center of this rock. And then there's like these cuts in this rock here. Okay. They're smaller than us, but stronger than us, significantly stronger than us. And so that's what built these things. And we know their entranceway is because they've decorated some of them like this. Now, this one, you can show this was a hole, but it's fused with the rock. There's like a hole pit that's been fused there. Now, some of them have fused holes. And so when you start looking into this stuff, you realize like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. Like this was a rock door entrance for that. But it's like they have an ability to manipulate rock, whatever this is. These things that were building this were plugging these like corks with stone, some of them. And then the stone was solidified. So this one that we busted out the bottom to get through because the hole was so tiny, we wanted to get inside. But look at this one. Same thing. We busted out the bottom just to get in so we could like see what's inside of there. But like, dude, this is like a porch of some little gnome man that lived there. I mean, this is the idea where the hobbits come from. Okay. So like the hobbits were not, they were actually things that what's his name stole the idea from. That's why they have the little circle doors in the Hobbiton world. Do you see what I'm saying? Like this is where this idea was stolen from. So he wasn't like making, he was taking from stories that knew that they were exact. So these little people lived with these little round door holes. So this is another type of Nephilim. This is a type of Nephilim that were tiny, but still had an ability to manipulate rock and super strong. This is where we would get like the stories of the elves, like the Elohims, the elves, the L. See the L? And so like these are the dwarfs and the gnomes. These things lived in the duendes. They were stronger than us. They had some rudimentary ability of power. It wasn't just so like they weren't so rudimentary, I should say. And like they look, this one's got like the plug right here. There's like the plug, the stone plug. which they were using to shut their doors, I guess, somehow. We just don't know. And so, like, the thing is, we do know that some of these have been found with like animal bones inside of them that had been processed. So it was like something lived inside of these that was eating things. Oh, look, this one's got a stone plug too. Look at this stone plug. Look at that. It's like a cork. Looks just like a cork. Plugs right into there. Isn't that crazy? But that stone is so heavy, we would struggle to lift it. That stone. That's such a freaking heavy cork stone plug. So it's like, what is this? Like, why did they make these things? What? You know, and they show food like somebody lived in them. So there were some tiny beings that could manipulate rock, solidify it, you know, and live inside of these little dome things, and they built these out of solid rock. And so these are different, but this is where we get the term dolmen sleeves. So if you type in dolmen sleeves, you'll see there's a type of shirt. So this is this type of shirt, and it's these sleeves that are just tight enough that your hand can go through them. They're the size of the dolmen. And so it's like these, because you can put your arms through these. I'm guessing there's a connection there. I don't know exactly what that connection is, to be completely honest, but I'm guessing there's a similarity connection, because why else would it be called that? Now, these are different than these things. These things are not these things. Totally different, okay? These things don't have doorways. They're just open, and they usually hang over the ledge like a table, because the giants would sit here like a table and grind your bones to make their bread. Different beings, exactly. See, look, it hangs over the edge like a table. It's a table. That's what that is. So, and when you start recognizing that it's a table, you're like, oh, I guess that makes sense. That's why the overhang always overhangs so much. Because it was for, I bet you if they DNA tested and were able to, if there's still any remnants left, there's signs of humans remains or something on top of these things. Almost guarantee you are all like, there's stuff on top that was like smashed or sacrificed or whatever. Which also reminds me of, what was that? The Georgia Guidestones, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
Do you remember the Guidestones? And do you remember the top stain that they had?
I went after they destroyed it.
No, do you remember the stain that they had? Look.
Yes.
This.
Yes.
That's like blood. Like, what is that?
Interesting. So you think that they were still, because that was built in like the 50s.
Sure.
You think there were still giants using that?
Not necessarily, but I think there was some mock representation of going on what they did here. This is like a mock representation of whatever that was, but that's what they were doing these kind of things for. These are stone tables for making your sacrifice and then killing and eating the person on top of it. Like that's what this is. So, you know, anyways, just my theories, by the way. These are my
Fee fi fo fum, I smell the blood of an
Exactly.
Englishman, be he alive or be he dead. I'll have his bones to grind my bread.
Exactly. That's what this is. And so, yeah, when you get back to here, it says, you know, the stone throwing. Now here, they had an ability to manipulate stone to throw. So Stonehenge was just a round table of tables for giants. That was just like it was like their meeting room where they ate people. Like, it's kind of like disturbing when you understand the truth of it. The Gentile were believed to live alongside the Basque people. They were hairy and so tall they could see from one rock to another. This is stone throwing. This stone throwing has led to several tales and explanations for the ancient stone buildings and the large isolated rocks. Even the Basque game Poleta is ascribed to these stone throwers. Tradition lives on in Basque power games in stone lifting and stone throwing. Some attributed the Gentile to the defeat of the Roland in the Battle of Roncesvalles, where the Basque defeated the Frankish army by throwing rocks on them. And the giants were believed to have created the Neolithic monuments, such as the dolmens, found around the Basque country. They were, by the way, the dolmens are found everywhere, not just in Basque country. They're in multiple different countries. They also were said to have invented metallurgy and the saw and the first to grow wheat, teaching humans how to farm. What did the Nephilim teach humans again? Oh, yeah, metallurgy. It taught them and growing and farming. Okay, so like, duh, they're Nephilim, like duh. However, they were unwilling to move into the valleys from mountains with certain unwillingness to progress. They disappeared into the earth under the Dolmen and the Arazetan whatever valley in wherever, where a pretentious luminous cloud, perhaps a star, appeared, said to have heralded the birth of Christ and the end of the Gentile age. The end of the Gentile age. Isn't that fascinating? The other stories say the Gentil threw themselves from mountains. Only Olentzero remained, a giant who appears at Christmas and is reproduced in straw dolls. Isn't that fascinating? Olentzero is the only one that remained. Do you know what Olenta means?
No.
Olenta means old, and zero means what? Zero. Nothingness. Olenta zero. Old nothingness. You know another name for old nothingness? Old Nick. Old Saint Nick. Nick means nothingness. It's Latin. Old Nick. Olenta zero means old nothingness. So that's where we get the term Old Nick. Old Nick, Old Saint Nick came from Olentzero, who was a Nephilim. He was a hairy Nephilim giant. He was a Gentil, okay, that disappeared when they saw the star of Bethlehem, said to have heralded the birth of Christ, okay, and the end of the Gentile age. So they saw Jesus's star of Bethlehem and said, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. That star that's Jesus. That's the Son of God coming to crush our head. We're going to get our heads crushed. And they went and committed suicide and all killed themselves. And then Olentzero was too chicken, and he basically said, "Hey, look, maybe I'll hide and I'll befriend them, and I'll stay in the forest." And then literally, this is Olentzero. He's the coward Nephilim leftover that didn't kill himself because he saw the prophecy of Jesus coming, and then instead brought presents once a year to the humans, hoping that Jesus wouldn't crush his head. That's what this is Christmas, by the way. I'm telling you the story, the real story of Christmas.
That's fascinating,
bro. And this is why you see depictions of Krampus. You know Krampus?
Krampus, yeah.
Yeah, that's Olentzero. That's old nothingness. This is old Nick. This is old Saint Nick. This is OG. That's why he's taking children, because he came Krampus, which is where we get the word cramps, means to twist or to pervert. Krampus is his name. That's what his name means. And so this is all from Olentzero's story. This is Olentzero. It's just another variant of the giant, hairy Gentil. That's what this is. It's a Gentil. That's Krampus. That's why you see all this. So when you know the real story of Christmas, makes a little bit more sense when you see what's going on. So basically, the Nephilim showed up, and the parents were like, he comes once a year bringing presents, and they're like, if you're bad, we'll give you to him when he brings us those presents. And that's how it sort of started, in a sense. So this is the real Santa Claus right here. And that's why Santa Claus, it literally means claus. Santa Claus, it means we turned it into another form of claus. That is not what it meant. It meant claus is cramp. It's actually from the same word, cramp. Klaus and cramp means to snatch or to twist also. So Krampus is actually what became Klaus, which became claus. So it's literally Krampus. It all means the same thing. It's all Satan. It's all Gentil. It's all Nephilim. Nephilim Christmas. There you go. Nephilim Christmas conversation.
In the Easter Islands / Peruvian / Catalina Islands / New Zealand area, there's the story of the Maori people live on the island of Easter Island, and they have always talked about the same thing. They've lived alongside the Patupaiarehe, which are the fair skin. This is where the fairies, the giants. Yeah. Well, so they were fairies that the Patupaiarehe were the fairies that lived in the woods, and they were like orbs and stuff like that. And they mated with the Maori people, and they created the what is the name of that?
Tuatha was the name.
I can't remember the name of the people, the race of giants they created, but it's the red-haired giants with the red beards and stuff like that. So so that brings me to my next question. Was the Basque people mating with the Nephilim
Yeah.
And then they started having offspring, and this is why people who have Rh negative blood are always interacting with these forces, these fairies, and they're always being abducted and all this other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Now, well, did you notice like Krampus has goat feet? Have you noticed that? He's like got goat hooves. Krampus he's got goat legs, goat foot, because he's a derivation of Pan, the goat god Pan, who's the half man, half goat man, right? So that's again where the Spanish Spanish came from, the region of France and Spain. And so they were basically had interbred with all of society. It wasn't just them. And in fact, there's a lot of Spanish people to this day. They'll have zero chest hair from the waist up, and then from the waist down, we'll have a ton of hair from the waist down. And there's a lot of Spanish people that are like this, and it's because they're Pan-ish. Like that's why. It's like literally it goes in the name. And so like the Tuatha De Danann and all the other peoples that were mixing with the Nephilim hygiene, like the Nephilim genome, they basically were hybridizing with animals and beings and Nephilim, and it just basically hybridized their whole genetic gene pool to the point where there was a bunch of people that were mostly human but had been mixed. And that's why you see, like, to this day, I mean, like, we still have people that have this genetic remnant, like Ollie.
So that's why they're being courted by these Bigfoot, these fairies, whatever orbs. That's why aliens are after the Rh negative people, and so they can, because they are a close match to their bloodline, so they can try to create hybrids with them.
Yeah, there's a probability that they can mix, and their mixing would give them a better probability of producing something with higher angelic genome. But this is Ollie Antar. Seen this guy before?
No.
Yeah, look at this. Symmetrical horns growing out of the front of his face. Like he had symmetrical horns. Look at that.
Where's this at?
This is in Yemen. He was 140 years old. They cut one of his horns off, and they went to cut the other one off, and he died in the operation.
Wow.
There's a video of it. I've got it. It's like they tried to remove it, but I have it downloaded. But yeah, it's crazy. So world's oldest man dies at 140. 140 years old.
He was 140.
140.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Well, I think it's also kind of, I will say this about these places over in the Middle East and stuff. You'll see a lot of people who are sort of, man, I don't want to say deformed, but they don't have the kind of healthcare that we have with regards to, like if you have some sort of a problem with your leg, for example, they don't treat it and it becomes something almost deformed. So you'll see people, for example, on these like what looks like skateboards, kind of using their fists to drag themselves around. So, I would imagine that there's a lot of things that are like that in these areas. So I don't necessarily buy into a lot of it, but to have horns are coming out of your head is a different thing.
That's a whole nother thing, bro.
Yeah,
well,
I've been to Yemen, dude, and Yemen has a lot of people like that, is what I'm trying to say. Yemen has a lot of people, like if you're just looking around there, it's a lot of inbreeding and stuff. And so you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff,
Well, it's not inbreeding that's necessarily the problem. It's actually like inbreeding produces polydactylism. So you see like deformities, but like this, bro, this is this whole nother thing. And Yemen, by the way, the Muslims believe that that's the origin of the jinn. Okay. The origin of the demons, jinn are demons, right?
Right.
Yeah. Why do you think they're called jinn, bro? Because they're Gentiles.
Genie in a bottle.
Yeah, the genie in a bottle. The genie. Yeah. But bro, do you hear what I just said? It's jinn, Gentile, Gentil. Okay, genie. Yeah, that's all connected. It's all the same word. It's jinn. Jinn
so when
means
did that
giant.
change, though? When did that change to?
Oh, it just changes throughout cultures. So like in English, they call them the Ents. The Ents. You know that? Like the tree people in Lord of the Rings?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, well, check this out. So look at this. By the way, look at this one. Do you see from the waist down, he's totally hairy, but his chest up, no hair. And then on his face, he's got hair. I don't want to bring it up because it's YouTube or whatever.
Well, dude, that looks like an Indian person. Indians are very hairy people.
Oh, yeah, they're Indian because these are Gentile remnant descendants. Like, look at the way the hair pattern grows. Look at how wide this girl's nose is. If that was on my face, it would be like this big. My nose would be this big. That's like not normal. It's like not even normal for the structure of it. This is Lalit. and he's also Indian, very famous dude now. And so like, yeah, they only grow. Notice how it mostly only grows on his face, though. This is a little girl, by the way. She's like a princess now or something, or I forget what. So like, this is remnant leftover Nephilim genetic sequencing. There's actually a guy who's got it. Like, I think if you just click down, you'll find the dude. He's somewhere in here. This dude who has it on his body, but on his arms. And so like the disparity between like, or the differentiation of how it moves on the people's body is like very, very unique and different. So it's not like the same, but like some people get it. Like, I'm wondering if I can find that dude's.
By the way, the name of those giants out of the Easter Islands is called the Urekehu, or the Urekehu.
So look at this. Look at this. Look at it. It's like monkey skin, bro. He even has the tag that monkeys get, this weird kind of growth monkey skin tag that they get. Like, bro, he's even got that. Look at that. Like, monkeys, by the way, are leftover Nephilim genetics. Like apes and gorillas are de-evolved gorilla. They're like Nephilim with Down syndrome. I know that sounds crazy, but
no, it doesn't. I'm actually, this is fascinating. I mean, I have a totally different take on all the dolmens and stuff like that, because all of it for me lines up energetically, and then it gets into the idea of plasmoids and all this other stuff, which is to me the entry point for demons. And so like a lot of these places, like the dolmens, like the small dolmens, I've actually never seen those, so those are interesting with the little hole, but that is big enough for an orb to fly through. You know what I mean? So that's what a lot of these dolmens and passage mounds and all this stuff, you'll usually see orbs, or people call them fairies.
Yeah,
people from that area.
I've seen them. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but the passing through. The reason why, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, maybe that is a situation. Maybe there is something like that going on. But back in the day, dude, that's because the demons hung out there. The Nephilim hung out there. So whatever leftover remnant of the Nephilim spirits are there, maybe they hang out on their tables because that was their dinner table where all the human sacrifices were going. So maybe that's why. You know,
I think
like,
that's a good tie-in, because it actually, this is where I think that people were getting information from fallen angels. This is where they were coming for information, where Stonehenge and all these standing stones and stone circles like Avebury and Stonehenge, like I said, and these dolmens and these passage mounds and these pyramids, all this stuff was used. They used these stones as a way, as like almost like a battery that helps. I wouldn't call it a battery, but it kind of entraps or encircles electromagnetic energy and creates these little portals for these fallen angels, these plasmoids, to come through. And I got a whole episode I'm going to be releasing on this very soon. It's sort of my theory on everything that really dives deep into where they come from. And dude, it, like, the spirits of the Nephilim come, and I'll just give you guys a little preview. It comes from noble gases. Noble gases is the answer to all of this stuff. And then it gets into the, when you hear of the prince of power of the air, and then cast into the abyss, which is the sea, and then fell like lightning from the heavens. That's what Jesus said about Satan. When you start seeing the words that are used, you know, fell like lightning, that's plasma, that's stars. The sea has, by the way, plasma has helium and hydrogen in it. Helium is a noble gas. The seawater is full of noble gases. And so is the air, the atmosphere has a lot of noble gases. And so does magnetite. And magnetite is always found near these places, these dolmens, these passage mounds, things like that. They're found in the Earth's crust near volcanic areas. And a lot of these areas are near volcanic areas. And that kind of seeps out, and then it interacts with the plasma in our reality. And then they come into that reality through these portal locations, is what I call them. So I don't doubt that those two are connected somehow, right? I just see that, because even the Japanese have the tori, or the torai, I don't know how you say that, which is the big T looks like a dolmen as well. So there's a lot of cultures around the world who, and by the way, the United States has dolmens. We don't know about them. There's one up in Montana that I was wanting to go see whenever I was in Wyoming, but I didn't have it was like another 4-hour drive, and I couldn't do it. We already drove like 35 hours or something just to get there. But yeah, that's sort of my take on it, man. I believe that there are energies that are coming through these areas, and those are the fallen angel energies that mated with the humans and that gave them knowledge at these portal locations. And so it would make sense that there are tables that grind the bones of humans to make bread and stuff like that for the giants. So yeah, that kind of lines up with what I'm talking about as well. But I do have a little bit of a different spin on it, a different take on it.
Sure. Yeah, there's so much to this understanding when you start looking into it more. We really just don't know. We just have to be humble. I can point to things that I see that are like, fascinating. You mentioned something else. I was going to look something up. I was going to look it up. But anyways, this is a 102-year-old woman. Check this one out. Who has, again, symmetrical horn, like forming right here. Another one. And it's like, bro, what is that? That ain't normal. This is like descendant of Nephilim. This is not a normal thing to have another formed symmetrical horn coming out of her head. So yeah, there's that connection to the Nephilim genetic sequencing that I think goes on that we just like completely like miss and we're not like aware that that's what's really going on. And so like you said a word, but like I was saying Gentile and then the jinn, and I was going to look up something else and show you. The genie in the bottle. After that, it was like, what'd you say? You said something right before we started talking about the noble gases. You said something I was going to show you. Something really cool. What?
The Urekehu? The giants?
Oh, yeah, the Urekehu. Yeah, okay, so the Urukai, which is Lord of the Rings, okay? And then here's another, here, I'll show you this. Watch this. So, this is even crazier. Let's type in, yeah, the Ents, Lord of the Rings. Okay, so check this out. The Ents. I don't know what I just went to.
Well, it's funny because Beelzebub means Lord of the Flies, right? And so like there's a lot of weird things tied into pop culture and movies and books and stuff like that. And I know you guys talk a lot about that on y'all's show, right?
Oh, yeah, dude. But I mean, C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien were like occultists. They were involved they knew about this. This is where they get their names from. All their Lord of the Rings is totally ripping off the stories of the Nephilim. It's all Nephilim stuff. Like they've just perverted it, and he perverted it into a way that we now think these things are fairy tales. Like Drew, bro, these are called the Ents. So what's that dude's name I showed you? What was his name?
I don't remember.
Watch here. I'll show you. Ollie Antar. Ollie Antar. Okay. Now okay. Oldest man, Ollie Antar. Okay. Antar. What's he got growing out of his head? Antler. Oh, antler. Yeah. What's another thing that looks like? You know what that looks like? There's another name for it called cutaneous horns. So if you just type in cutaneous,
and that's like the horn of an oxen or something?
No. These are cutaneous horns. These are horns that grow off of people's faces and ears. Usually. Okay, they grow random places.
That's creepy.
But, yeah, but you know what it looks like? You know what it looks like too? It looks like ginger. Isn't that fascinating? It looks almost like a ginger root, doesn't it? No wonder they call it ginger. And wait, what is another term for ginger? Oh yeah, gingers don't have souls, right? What is that? What's that saying about? Look at this. These are the elves. The elves. This is the elves, the Elohim, and this is what this is from. And so when you understand what this part is from, like you realize that this is connected to the fallen angels. Like, look, dude, it's like growing out of the tip of the ear, bro. Look at this. This is what the elves are. And so when you see this, you're like, okay, this is what this grew out of these people's ears. This is the Elohim. This was and here's the thing, like it was connected to all of this. It's pretty like gross looking when you start looking into it, right? But like this is what they believed that the people that had these horns growing off of them were descendants of jinn. Okay, they were the Gentiles, and that's why they called ginger, the plant ginger, was named after the jinn. It was named after the jinn. So that's why these cutaneous horns look like ginger root. And they're like saying, oh, it looks like ginger. And they believe that it had some magical properties to it. But this is what the elves were, bro. The people that were elves, descendant of elves, had these horns growing off their face and off their body in different places because they had been hybridized with animals and other different things. But this guy's name is Ali Antar. Okay. Antar is a descendant of, it means antler. Okay. Ali Antler. It's the same thing, but it's also Antar, meaning from descendant of the Ents. What are the Ents? Antar means descendant of Ents. Well, if you know what Ents are in other region, these are the Ents, the giant tree people. The giant tree people are the Ents, the Untlers. Okay, and if you just look up like where did the Lord of the Rings get the name Ents from? Name from. Yeah, the Ents is supposed representative name of the member of the race of languages of the valley, whatever. Old English language Ent, meaning giant. Old English Ent, meaning giant. Why is it called? Why does Ent mean giant? It's giant. Do you see? Giant. They're all root derivations and perversions of the same word. So it was jinn, then it was Gentile, then it was giantile, and then it was giant, and then it was ent. Do you hear? Do you see how many the word variation is shifted? But it's the same root word, and that's why they're all tethered. That's why you see this, because it's all connected. It's very, like, when you see it, you're like, okay, the horns, they're connected to this, connected to that, and he's freaking got horns because he's an Antar. Ali Antar means descendant of the Ents. And dude, there's even people left over that still have this. Look at this. Indian tree root hands. You seen this guy?
No,
You haven't seen these people? Look at this.
I don't think so.
Bro, there's a lot of people that have this. There's like multiple people that have this weird disease. This isn't just the only guy. But like, dude, look at this dude's hands though. Like look at that. Like, bro, this guy's hands are literally okay. So this is actually, it stems from the Tuatha, the fairies. The fairy folk is stemming from this. So you've ever heard the term a nymph?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know what a nymph is? It's a little fairy, a nymph.
A nymphomaniac?
Well, you know the term nymphomaniac, right? But do you know what a nymph fairy is?
Like the hag, or like the sleep paralysis hag, or like the succubus.
So like so there's tree nymphs, okay? So if you just type nymph tree, so there is these things that are in Greek mythology. They're the tree nymphs that were like supposedly like gosh, what are they called? There's another name for them. So if you just type in nymph, this is what you get. These images of these things. These are all Nephilim. But what they were is they were there's a name for them, the tree nymph.
See, I would liken them to more of the fallen spirits, the fallen angels, that came down and shed their Okatarian. These fair-skinned, or they always call them fairies and stuff like that. That's kind of how I would liken those
because
people.
they were fair. But listen to this though. So the nymphs can refer to a beautiful young woman, a nature spirit in Greek mythology, or immature stag or certain insect. Okay, whatever. So yeah, it's a nature spirit in Greek mythology is what this is. And so the nymphs are like these they could turn into trees. Transform to tree. Let's see. Daphne is this one. No, that's not it. But yeah, that's a famous depiction, I think, of this one. So like here she is turning into a tree. So so this is a tree nymph. And so like there's like there's depictions of these people like this where they turn into trees. And Tree, most famous, told the story of Daphne, who turned into a lure tree to escape the pursuit of god Apollo. Now, there's a few different nymph stories where they could transform into trees. There's another name for them right now. I don't know why I'm drawing blank on it. But anyways, that's what that dude's hands is. Like that's his great 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 grandfather or grandmother was a tree person. Like that's basically what this is, dude. Like, and now we see it today. But today it comes out as a genetic disparity. You know what I mean? Like it's not coming out as something magical anymore because it's lost the Nephilim zest of whatever it was, because the people could transform into trees. This dude can't transform. He's stuck in tree mode, somewhere between tree and human. Like his genome is like wrecked, which is part of the reason why Jesus came. You know, Jesus came to restore, because there was a lot of this kind of corruption and things going on. But this is where we get the term nymphomaniac. So like when you realize like nymph meant these alluring girls or whatever was the idea, but the term nymphomaniac, it comes from the idea that like you are so sexual, you'd have sex with a tree. You're a nymphomaniac. This is what this is stemming from. It's like the nymphs that were the tree spirits. So you're like, what? That's why it's called that. That's where these terms come from. There's just perversions of this stuff. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm drawing that. But so yeah, this is all stemming from Ali, Antar, and all kinds of stuff. And actually, I have Josephus's writings. Check this out. I just read this today. I'll read it again. So this is the writings of Flavius Josephus. I'm going to read you this weird excerpt at the end. There's this discourse on Hades, concerning Hades. It's an extract of Josephus' discourse of the Greek concerning Hades. So this is a last part of what he believes the heavenly realm would be like at the end. Okay, I'm going to read you just something really weird that he wrote. Okay, this is Flavius. Do you know who he is, Flavius Josephus?
No, I don't.
Okay, this is the reason why you believe your Bible, because of this guy. Okay, so like he is a Roman historian, okay, who wrote he's Jewish. He was a Jewish Roman historian, who survived all the events after whatever Jesus came, and he survived through the war of the destruction of the temple, and he wrote down all the things that happened, which, by the way, if you read Flavius Josephus, you'll understand why Revelation probably already happened, and it's very fascinating.
That's actually my thought on it too. I feel like Revelation already happened because it's talked about as if it already happened.
Bro, when you read Flavius Josephus' writings, you're gonna be like, wait, what? That happened? Wait, what? That what? Like you're gonna know. Like, dude, he even talks about armies and troops of armor showing up in the clouds, which is just crazy because you're like, what?
Dude, listen to me, man. I was just talking. I was just texting a guy about this, and I'll be brief. I promise. I'll let you get to Joseph Flavius. I hope I'm saying that right.
Flavius Josephus, close enough.
Flavius Josephus. But I have this, like, when you hear the words Gog and Magog, it means roof and of the roof, and to me that means firmament. And like when you so like when you hear Magog, that means like something coming through the firmament, and that lines up with what you're saying with, like something descended from the sky, from the heavens, and there was some sort of attack. That's kind of my take on it.
Never thought of that Gog and Magog being like something of above. You know, it's interesting because in England they have two giants called Gog and Magog, and they celebrate them like every year. You know that, right? Do you know that?
Didn't.
They have them They have the March of Gog and Magog.
But they call them the Horde, and I think what's funny, man, is like I found a book. It's a He-Man book called The Horde from like 1984. I found it in a I just done an episode with Paul Stobbs, which is ironic because I'm gonna be talking to him again in a couple of days. But I just got off the episode with Paul Stobbs, and he had mentioned the Horde, and we were talking about how maybe this Horde is kind of stored away in the national forest and things like that. And then I actually saw that book in a local, it was a peddler shop, so there's a bunch of antiques and stuff there. And once I started flipping through it, I was like, this is it. This is the story here. Like, how did people even write fiction that looks exactly like the stories that I'm thinking of from the Bible and stuff like that, with like Gog and Magog? I mean, it describes what is the planet called? Etheria versus where does Hordak come from? He comes from beyond the firmament, right? And he fights off. He tries to fight the light, and he fights him with the Horde, and the Horde looks like Bigfoot and looks like the Lizard Man and looks like all this other stuff. So I feel like the Horde.
What is the story from?
It's Masters of the Universe. It's called The Horde. It's a book, yeah, from He-Man. Yeah, and so like I literally, you can flip through it, and it's like exactly what we're talking about right now. And the Bible actually says there's a horde that comes from the roof, Gog
From
and
Gog and
Magog.
Magog.
Yeah,
Yeah, it says that the multitude will gather together in Revelation 20.
yeah. And so what happened in December of last year was we started sort of seeing these plasmoids coming from the sky. And I think some of that might be reemerging. Like we're probably starting to see some of that stuff again. It wasn't there like a translation of sky monsters that Jesus was talking about. It's like the Greek word for, I'm going to jack it up, but I can't remember. But basically, Jesus was talking about sky monsters coming in. The word for sky monsters is a Greek word. I can't remember what it was, man.
It's Leviathan or something.
It all, man. I had it the other day. I probably wouldn't be able to find it on my 1,000 documents that are on my desk. Right?
Is it something like kaiju? Some of the K.
No, it's a simple word that we use all the time. I just can't remember it. But I'll move on. If it comes to me, I'll say it. But go on with Flavius Josephus or whatever his name is. Man.
Close. Flavius Josephus. Close enough. Okay. So this is his view, mind you. He was alive right after Jesus died. Okay, and he wrote about all the stuff that happened. And dude, when you read it, you're gonna be like, "Whoa, that's what happened after Jesus died." That sounds a whole lot like Revelation. Anyways, one of his subnotes. This is not his main writings. This is his discourse concerning Hades. And in this subnote, he wrote this little section. This little section here that basically is, I'm just going to read it because it's really weird. Okay. So it says, this is what his view of heaven is. It says, okay, heaven will not then be uninhabitable by men, and it will not be impossible to discover the way of ascending there. The earth will not be uncultivated, nor require too much labor of men, but will bring forth its fruit of its own accord, and will be well adorned with them. There will be no more generation of wild beasts, nor will the substance of the rest of the animals, which, by the way, wild beast does not mean animal. It means a half angel human or half animal human. Okay. Just to clarify, I have to point that out. Now, understanding that, I'm going to reread that. It says, there will be no more generations of wild beasts, which means Nephilim offspring. Okay. Nor will the substance of the rest of the animals, like all the other animals that are not hybrids, shoot out anymore, for it will not produce men. What? What substance of animals shoots out and produces men in our reality? That don't make sense, right? Let me just reread that. There will be no more generations of wild beasts, nor will the substance of the rest of the animals shoot out anymore, for it will not produce men. But the number of the righteous will continue and never fail, together with righteous angels and the Spirit of God, with his word as the choir of the righteous men and women that never grow old. Okay, so what reality was Flavius Josephus living in where animals were producing men? Like that's like freaking weird, right? That's not even the weirdest part. I'll read you even more of the weird parts. Okay, so it says, now as to, this is in his writings. Okay, now as to Scythians, they take pleasure in killing men, and they differ but little from brute beasts. So there's some reference to brute beast that sounds totally strange. Okay. Now get this. This one's even crazier. Okay, here he's talking about Egypt. It says, now for Egyptians, perhaps they are the only nation, that has never extraordinary privilege to have never served any of those monarchs who subdued Asia and Europe. And this is on account that they pretended that the gods fled into their country and saved themselves by being changed into the shapes of wild beasts. Okay? That he's talking about the wild beasts, those half angel, half animal, human things. Okay? Says, for I will no longer reproach them regarding this, related to this manner, how the Persians used them, and not only once, but many times when they laid their cities waste, demolished their temples, and cut the throats of those animals who they esteemed to be gods. Those animals who they esteemed to be gods. He's talking about the the dog-headed, Anubis people and all these other things. Now listen to this. This is very telling. This is like the nail in the coffin spot. Yet if all men had followed in the manner of Egypt, this is another section further down. He's talking about this. If all men had followed in the manner of Egypt, the world would have certainly been made desolate as to mankind, but had been instead filled full of the wildest sorts of brute beasts, which because they supposed them to be gods. Isn't that fascinating? So Egypt was basically overrun with these animal-human hybrid things that were totally not normal. Here's another line on another page. It says, brute beasts, for as far as they all agreed, those throughout the whole country of Egypt to esteem such animals as gods. Again, he's talking about these things. Now here's another weird one. Okay, check this out. Who is there that does not know that Egypt was overrun with the wildest sorts of brute beasts and consumed by all sorts of sickness? Isn't that fascinating? All sorts of sickness and wild brute beasts. That means animal-human hybrids and disease. So what did I just get done showing you? That tree dude who had been hybridized with tree looks like a sickness to me. So all sickness stems from human hybridization with angels and Nephilim and DNA and animals. And everybody at that time knew that Egypt was overrun with animal-human hybrids and a bunch of sickness and disease. That's why Jesus came healing the sickness and the disease to declare his right as God. He was restoring what the angels had broken in the human genome. Like that's what the restoration was. And like the people were only living to be, shorter lives and shorter lives. That's why it says no Nephilim shall live past 120 years. Not no human, by the way. That's that verse in the Bible. It's referring to the Nephilim. So, that verse that says no man shall live past 120 years. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. The verse before it says the Nephilim were in the days thereafter. And then the verse after it says no man shall live. It says my spirit shall not reside in man forever, for he is mortal. His number shall be 120. He's saying my spirit joined with man, that creation's spirit will only be 120. And it says the Nephilim were there in those days and afterwards when the sons of God went into the daughters of men. So if the verse before it's talking about Nephilim and the verse after it's talking about Nephilim, what makes you think that the verse between the two Nephilim verses in Genesis 6 is referring to anything other than Nephilim? It's literally the 120 age thing that they told you no man shall live past was a contingency upon the Nephilim. That's why everyone today, we all live to 120 because we're all Nephilimized. That's why our lifespan is what it is, because we have Nephilim genome basically bred into everybody at this point. So we all have got Nephilim genes, and it's not a big deal. We're Gentile, we're forgiven, and Christ died for us as well. But it doesn't really matter because Jesus said, preach this gospel to every creature. Every creature. He didn't say to every man, didn't say every human, every person, every Jew. He said every creature. What are you going to do? Preach the gospel to a dog? No. There was animal-human hybrid, Nephilim leftover remnants that still existed. And that's why Jesus said to the woman at the well, what are you, a dog? What is he insulting that woman, calling her a dog? No, she was a Canaanite. She had hair on her face and teeth, probably like big canine teeth. She was a Canaan. This is where we get the word Canaan. It means dog. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Canaan means dog. Canaanite. That means dog person. So like, that's what he was saying, because they were not fully human. And so when you see this though, and you read it in Greek mythology and all these other stuff, you realize, it's very clear that there's something we don't know going on, that is like very different.
So what about the serpent seed and God putting enmity between us and the serpent seed, or between Eve's lineage and the serpent seed?
Until Jesus came, and then that was done away with.
Okay, interesting.
He crushed the head and bruised the heel.
Which brings me to my next point, what I was going to ask you about, because whenever I see like the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, I'm always like, why are we using the "Don't Tread on Me" flag? Right? Because like it's literally,
well, that's because we're the serpent seed.
We're saying that we're the serpent seed. Yeah.
Technically, we probably are to some degree. I mean, but we're forgiven. It doesn't matter. We preach this gospel to every creature. So
Look,
like
this is He-Man
oh,
with the
nice.
Maltese cross, you know, summoning the light, and look who he's fighting on the cover of the Horde. Bigfoot, a giant.
Nice.
So anyways, that's the book I found, man. It was really, I had to go get it a while ago when you were talking. I wasn't ignoring you. I was listening to you. I just had to stand up and go get it because it was all the way in the corner of my office.
Yeah. No worries.
But yeah, it's so interesting, man. This is an interesting thought that I have never thought of before. So why would they continue to abduct people who are specifically Rh negative versus someone? Because almost instantly, like I know someone, and I know she's listening, that she just told me the other day that she had these orbs and stuff following it around. She had pictures. There was a time where they were everywhere all the time, and she had pictures and videos. She sent me some pictures of all these orbs. And first thing I asked her was like, "Are you Rh negative?" And she said, "Yeah." And I was like, "So why are they focusing on just one bloodline?" You know what I mean? Versus, and now I would imagine that there's something about the bloodline, a bloodline of the Maori people as well, who produced the Urekehu, like I said, the race of fair-skinned, red-haired giants, stuff like that. Why would they still be doing this dance, right? I mean, why wouldn't they just kind of always be present and just be like, yeah, this is us now? Why did he have to continue hiding in the woods and hiding in the forest and coming in secretly through portals and all this other stuff? I mean, it talks about the Patupaiarehe and how they would use mystifying music to seduce people to come to the woods and mate with them, right? And so that's what it was the same story of the mermaids. The mermaids have this, you know, cry out for help, and this song that is alluring for people who are fishermen or people who are traveling on ships. And so why would they continue to do this song and dance hidden in the shadows? Why wouldn't they do it out in the light where everybody can see it, and it was just like a normal thing again? Why hide it is, I guess, what the question I'm asking.
Here, I'll tell you why. Ready? So we're going to read Lord. Okay, ready? So Luke 10, 16. Actually, 10, 15. And you, Capernaum, will you be lifted to the heavens? No, you will go down to Hades, to the place of the dead, it says. Whoever listens to you listens to me. Whoever rejects you rejects me. Whoever rejects me rejects him who sent me. And the 72 returned with joy and said, Lord, Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name. The daemon obey us, and when we use your name. This is the 72. So Jesus sent out these 72 individuals, disciples, and they went out and realized, and God said, don't be excited. Jesus said, don't be excited that the demons obey you, but excited that your name is written in the book of life, right? But the 72 came back and said, Lord, even the demons obey us. This is why they hide. So when you start casting out demons, bro, like when you deal with demonic spirits, like, and cast out demons, you realize what authority we carry as Christians, and you understand that authority. Like, you understand why they're hiding. It's very simple. Like, they are afraid of us. Demons are terrified of me. Like, I literally will just get on a call sometimes and people have manifested. Just me be on the phone. I've answered the phone and people that don't know me were like, and just start throwing up. And like, bro, like, demons tremble. They are terrified when you have the authority of Christ in your life and you walk with it. They are terrified. This is why the demons hide. It's the same reason why I was showing you Olentzero was hiding. He was afraid of his head getting crushed. All of them are in hiding. They're all in hiding, and they're petrified of us using the authority of Jesus. And they're waiting for the authority of Jesus. They're waiting for the stories of Jesus to get like diminished, and maybe we can pervert the understanding of Christ so that way they can return back and keep their lineage alive in the shadows. That's why aliens hide from you. It has nothing to do with them having an authority. They're hiding because they're scared of you. They're hiding because they're terrified of you. They only abduct people that are weak. They abduct you if you don't know the authority of Christ. They ain't going to go abducting me. Trust me, they ain't going to show up here. They're going to be terrified to show up for me. So like, you know, they're not going to look for people they're looking for people that don't know who Christ is. That's who they abduct. They're looking for people that don't recognize the authority that the 72 that Jesus Christ gave us to cast out demons. This is why they hide.
He gave us the authority to trample on snakes. That was the one I was kind of referring to a while ago. The snakes
Serpents
and
and
scorpions,
scorpions.
yeah, and overcome all the power of the enemy. But
exactly.
Why? But if we're that would imply that we're demons as well. That have
no.
Well, I mean, if the demons, if the fallen
angels, we just
angels,
have corrupted DNA. It doesn't make us demons. We just have genetic corruption from fallen angels or animals that have hybridized into our bloodline. And in fact, I don't even know if it's angels anymore. It may just be animals that have mixed in with us. That's why the Jews called us the pigs and the dogs, bro. They call us that because we were the Gentile, the descendant of giants. It means children of giants. That's what Gentile means, or Gentile. Okay? It's Gentile. Descendant of giants means child of the giant.
Which is why a lot of Semites, including the Muslims in the Middle East, don't eat pork, right? Is because it was like some sort of a human hybrid or something, right?
Well, yeah, there's theories and debates about that. Yeah, but the pig, it's like you're not supposed to eat these. They called us the pigs, bro. They called us pigs. They call us pigs. They call us dogs. They call us cattle, goyim, Gentile. Like, this is where that term comes from, because we were not. So Jesus was pure genetically, but that's why they call him Son of Man. Jesus is the Son of Man, because the other things were Son of God. Okay, but Jesus was Son of Man, and so the Son of Man, Jesus, came to restore the human race. But once the human race was redeemed through Jesus, he said this promise was meant for the entire world, and the promise was extended to the Gentiles, the descendants of the giants, the Gentiles. Even they would be able to benefit from this. And so, like, the reason why they hide is because they are petrified. If they're even physically around, they are terrified of our authority that we have in Christ. Even the 72, they obey us. If I saw a Bigfoot, I would just be like, in the name of Jesus, bow your knee now. And the thing would be like, and like start bowing. I know that because I cast demons out. Like, bro, I deal with this all the time. I'm just doing it today. Like, dude, I deal with demons and I know how they respond. There's an authority when you understand your authority in Christ and you walk in the righteousness of Christ. I can speak to demons. I talk to them all the time. I tell them what to do. I'm like, no, you're going to shut up and leave this person. Like, no. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is you're going to leave now. You're going to leave. Get out of this person's memory and stop affecting their dreams. Stop giving them sickness. Stop killing their family. I order the demons what to do. I tell them what to do. Even the demons obey us, Jesus, his disciples said. Yeah, the demons. And that word is daemon, which also implies there's two words, demon and daemon. One is the physical nature and one is the spiritual nature. Okay, there's multiple things in the Bible. There's demons, there's daemon. Okay, there's foul spirits, evil spirits. Okay, and there's there's a plethora of things. There's sickness. It's not quite the same. Okay, there is multiple things that Jesus did. They're not all the same thing. Like, these are different entities that had different functionalities. Some of them were physical. Like, the demons were physical. The daemon are like dreams they're like the invisible will of the demons. So, like, yeah, there's all kinds of connections to what exactly was going on. But at Jesus' time, there was like definitely non-looking human things that were there. Like, definitely, they were not fully human looking, like we would say today. We've just basically, muted all of the genome has muted into one, general race of people in pretty much every area of the world. So we're all basically mostly human at this point, and the Nephilim blood has just waned out of our existence. So, but if there are any of these things still hiding, they're terrified of us. They're hiding. They're waiting for weak people. It's like imagine going to the forest and you see this frail little creepy animal hybrid thing coming out like Voldemort, some weak little monster thing. You're like terrified, but you could probably just go over there and kick it and it would just die. But it's like, you will serve me. And then the stupid humans were like, oh, we should serve this thing. And then they went and served the thing. And he's like, I need people or something. And maybe they killed him, brought him blood or something, and it gave him strength. I don't know. But they're like, you can't say the name of Jesus around it. Like, They learned it doesn't work. Like, you can't say this, you can't do this, and they've got some rule. Who knows? Like, I have no clue how they're working with these physical things, if they are, but they're hiding, and they're still definitely petrified of us saying Jesus. They're definitely petrified of the authority we have in Christ. So they don't really bother me much in that regard, because I'm just like, dude, I've dealt with so many demons at this point. I just, and I see the physical things of them, like orbs and stuff. Like, this kind of stuff happens, but it's not always like, orbs can easily be dust particles in the atmosphere. When you see them, they can easily be dust particles in video, but and I've seen that a lot, and I've done a lot of, I used to do special effects. I still do video effects stuff. So it's like, I recognize a lot of the stuff that I'm like, oh, okay, that's this effect in film. But what I would say is, like, some of the orb stuff, like, when you're seeing it with your eye, you're not actually seeing it. It's not actually there. It's like happening in a reality that we're not fully aware of. I'm hearing a slight echo of me, by the way. I don't know if that's normal.
Yeah, it's people keep saying that when they come into my show, and I got to figure that out. I got to figure out what's going on with that. But what I was talking about earlier was, I looked it up. It's Luke 21:11, and it says, "In the end, great earthquakes shall be in the divers places, and famines and pestilences and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven."
That happened.
And what's that?
That all happened.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm starting to think that as well. But it says, but I think there's another thing, something else happening that's similar to that. And the word fearful sights, the Greek word for fearful sights is phobotron. And it's used exclusively in Greek as the word for monsters. So according to this guy named Pastor Rick Renner, I don't know if you've ever heard of him or ever talked to him, but according to his interpretation, he's saying that Jesus was telling us that there will be sky monsters coming from the heavens before the end of the age. And it does, I mean, dude, what I was saying about all the gases with the noble gases, that's what plasmoids are. They're noble gases. So noble gases like argon and helium and xenon and all that, they burn different colors. When they become excited, they glow a different color. And that's why these orbs all have different colors. Some of them are orange, some of them are blue, some of them are purple. And those all correlate with the gases, the noble gases. And so I think those are the fairies that are trying to manipulate reality and to come into our reality. And so again, I'm going to be doing a whole breakdown of that here soon, because there a lot of them, especially the ones that are trapped in magnetite. Magnetite it has an encasing of iron, and iron is known to keep out the spirits, or keep the spirits locked into cemeteries, right? That's why you have iron gates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you get into the metallurgy of all this, when you get into the metals of all this, you see it starts kind of making sense how silver corresponds with the moon, and it's the metal of the moon, right? And it has like the ability to ground, like iron will ground ethereal energy. Silver will purge like demonic energy. So have you ever used like silver or anything like that, iron or anything, to cast out demons?
No.
Like, I have a silver cross on my neck, and it's imbued with the idea of Christ, and it's silver. Specifically, I wear this as a protection to kind of keep stuff away from me, to keep demons away from me, and this is again where you get the idea for silver bullets killing werewolves, because silver is that of the moon, right? Is the metal of the moon, and it has a resonance that shatters or it kind of releases the curse from the werewolf, or releases the curse from the vampire or the witch. Have you ever used anything like that? Have you ever come across frequency or metal or anything that helps cast these things out?
No, Jesus said, if I cast out demons by the finger of God, you know that the kingdom of heaven is upon you. Like, all we need is the authority of Christ. Back in the day, people to practice witchcraft, they used objects and things. And so, like, that was a form of witchcraft a lot of times, like to use like certain objects, or do certain rituals, like the guts of a fish or the leg of a frog. That was what the Old Testament exorcists would do. They would do things like that to try to find a remedy to appease the demon, to try to get the demon to leave. So if you read in the book of Jubilees, It actually talks about there's plants of the earth that heal every sickness in the world, that were created by the demons that give us a list. They give Noah a list of every healing medicine that exists in the world. And so there's like certain things that they would do to try to, I don't know, try to basically heal people by casting out the demon or whatever. But when Jesus showed up, he was just like, no, demon, leave, out, boom, out. And so, like, that's how we're supposed to do it now. That I just do it like that. I'm just like, out, don't do that. And I've noticed that a lot of people that believe in the cross to cast out demons, and like things like that, it don't work very well. Like it will elude people into like sacred knowledge and understanding, which will open them up to a demon of pride. I went to a dude's house once who's Catholic, and he had schizophrenia. But schizophrenia is demonic possession. It's not a real condition. And I walked in, and his house was just covered in crosses, like crosses everywhere, so many crosses. And I was just like, whoa, dang, like so like the whole wall, just like thousands of crosses. It looked like, and I'm just like, okay. And then like the dude was like, hey, it's like, hey, I was like, he's like, you, what are you doing here for? And I was like, well, I was told that, your friends brought me over, told that you wanted some prayer, needed somebody to cast out demons and stuff. And he was like, oh, you're going to cast demons out of me? And I was like, yeah, I'm like, if you want, man, I'm not here to try to force it. And he's like, who, you and your little Jesus? And I was like, me and my little Jesus, bro, me and my little Jesus, we're going to cast the demons out. He's like, look around you, fool. Your Jesus is dead. We killed him. He goes, why do you think we put the crosses up? And I was like, it's a really good point. I was like, that's a pretty good point, demon. It was like, it like straight switched. Like the dude was like, yeah, no. And so like, yeah, it was pretty interesting experience when you realize when you talk to demons, bro, your perspective of reality starts to go like, oh, I thought it was this way, and I realized maybe I might be a little bit off. you're like, okay, that makes some sense. Like, dude, they'll do some things and tell you some things that you'll be like, whoa, I never looked at it that way. You're like, oh man, that's shocking. So yeah.
In Mark 16:17, Jesus gives us that authority, right?
Yeah, to cast out demons with our authority, with the words. Yeah, Mark 16:17 says, these signs will follow those who believe. In my name, they will drive out demons. It's like the first thing he says, right? So we're all supposed to drive them out as Christians, right? We're all supposed to do it. But like we're not to rely on, because when we rely on objects or knowledge, like really like relying on metals and stuff, like you're relying on your knowledge of men to try to create a remedy. But the reality is you need to rely on Christ. And that's the only authority we need to rely on, not the knowledge of men, because we're putting our faith in objects. I've had a demon possessed person try to touch me, and bro, he couldn't even get this close to me. He went like this to put his hand on me, and boom, something lifted him up in the air and he flew back. I ain't never seen that before. Like, dude, I was just like, I just relied on Christ to protected me. Like, bro, a demon possessed man tried to touch me, boom, he was gone. I was like, whoa. It's like, that was freaking epic. Like, it was just like, I was shocked to see that. The dude came up off the ground, probably like, I don't know, like 3 feet. Like, just like something lifted him up, went boom, and lifted him up and threw him back. I was like, whoa. So like, I just go in faith and innocence and be as innocent as a dove and act like a child, bro. And like the Holy Spirit, when you are weak, he is strong. So if you go in there thinking like, I've got this, I got the metal, I got the holy water, I got that, bro, you ain't gonna get crap, bro. You ain't got the Spirit of God if you're over there trying to use the logic to fight a spiritual thing, because it's spiritual. The physical is very weak to the spiritual. I think there's a reason for some of this physical stuff, but when I'm casting out demons, it's not the same at all. And I think there was remnants to some of the silver stuff and like those things in the past. Like, by the way, I don't know. I worked for a company that made silver Band-Aids that I helped design some stuff for them, because silver is antimicrobial. It's antibacterial, antimicrobial. It leaches ions. Silver ions break off of it, and it leaches into the atmosphere to whatever area that you're on. And so like back in the day, they would put silver coins on people's eyes and they bury them. And like, it would like, their whole body would like rot, but where the eyes were, it would like not rot. So it was like a kind of a weird thing that they started doing. And I think they put them on like people that got like disease, like skin eating diseases and MRSA. They would put a silver coin there, and it would like start making that disease go away. And so somebody realized like, bro, silver is magical. it's antimicrobial and antimicrobial, antibacterial. So it did have an effect. So it was like, that's, I think, might have been where the stemming idea of like the werewolf, basically it like fighting off lycanthropy and certain things, was because it like literally would cure certain sicknesses and ailments, and certain bacteria wouldn't grow wherever there was silver, because it would just like kill the other stuff. And I think there may be something connected to that that's spiritual. I don't know, but like, I don't know.
Dude, the reason I ask is because yes, we know that they're spiritual, but what does that mean? That I mean, just because we can't see them, first of all, when they come into our reality, they do take some kind of a form, whether that's gaseous, whether that's, through the form that, I watched a movie called Fallen with Denzel Washington. They can just touch and move from person to person. I really believe that that's true. But I think that they take some sort of a shape. And just like Jesus said in Mark 6:17, is like, you're casting out with your tongue. You're speaking a vibration into this thing, and that thing is a vibration as well. And so you're meeting that with a frequency, a dissonant frequency, to cast that out, to get rid of that. And so there's certain metals that are, that do vibrationally align with stuff like that. And I think silver is one of them because of that. It has this ability to repel dark vibrations rather than like, absorb them, if you will. And so that's kind of what I'm saying with that, is like, I feel like when you say things, our words have like these little vortexes of energy that comes out, literally little vortices of energy, and they have a magnetic field around every letter that we say, every word that we say. That's why we do amen. All that stuff has literally a tornado of energy that comes out of your mouth, and each one has a magnetic field around it, and that magnetic field produces a vibration that can either resonate or destroy. And so that's where I'm saying this is like, I don't really I don't ignore the fact that for centuries, for thousands of years, whatever it's been, people have been putting up iron gates specifically around graveyards to keep energies in. And then you have all these historical
that is an interesting
references.
one. I'll tell you right now, my buddy Jerry Marzinski, like he works with schizophrenics and he casts out demons like I do. He's the scientist. Have you talked to him ever?
No, but dude, for like the last 4 episodes, everybody's mentioned Jerry Marzinski. So I gotta have him on.
I can give you his, I
Thanks,
can get you
man,
to come on. So anyways, he mentions that there is a like he's realized that when he's dealing with the schizophrenics, like they hate iron. Like the demons hate iron. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, dude, they always, something about iron really bothers them. He's like, I don't know what it is. And I'm like, that's fascinating, because I haven't really tested that, but he does notice that iron is not a fan of schizophrenic, demonically possessed individuals.
And that's because I think it grounds them ethereal. It grounds their ethereal energy. Because again, we can say they're spirits, but you still have to try to define what that is, because it's something. It's not material like us. It comes in other forms, and it comes in the forms of, like I said, with gaseous form or plasma form, whatever they can possibly come into. And again, when you look at references where Jesus, you mentioned Luke, or I believe it was Luke, where Jesus he said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Well, what is lightning? Lightning is plasma. And what is the stars made of? Again, the stars is made of helium, a noble gas, and hydrogen. And it keeps like combusting. It has a nuclear center, right? It keeps combusting over and over. And what happened when Satan, the third of the stars was cast down from heaven? And what are stars? Again, stars are plasma. They're gases. And so what did Jesus do? Jesus trapped these demons in the gates. He locked the gates of hell beneath Mount Hermon. Well, Mount Hermon, that whole region is extinct volcano. And so again, this is where I get the idea for the magnetite, which is found in volcanoes, faults, fissures, all this other stuff. And it unlocks at certain times of the day, at dusk and dawn, when so the sun is a magnet and the earth is a magnet. And when they cross each other, it creates a Faraday's law. It creates induction, creates it creates electricity. And when that happens, it unlocks that magnetite. It unlocks that iron. and then the magnetite releases the noble gases. The noble gases come out from volcanoes and stuff. This is, dude, look at all of those dolmens you pointed up, you pulled up, look up any one of them, and there's a volcano not far away or an extinct volcano. That's what Bermuda Triangle is. Bermuda Triangle is an extinct volcanic seamount. And so all these places, dude, all throughout history, it's they line up with fault lines. Charleston, South Carolina, which is the area I'm from, heavily, lots of heavy paranormal activity and stuff. So what I'm trying to say, man, is like, there's something, I mean, saying the name has power. And I think the power it has is that vibration that meets that negative energy and it shatters that negative energy. So that's kind of what, when you say the name of Christ, they disperse, they disappear. And because Christ is the embodiment of light, and light, when you shine light in the darkness, it disperses the shadows, right? So again, for me, it's all about vibrations, and it's all about, like I said, with the silver, I mean, I keep going back to the silver, but silver is said to repel evil, and it's supposed to reflect the darkness or shine light on the darkness, and it reflects divine light is what I'm trying to say. So that's why I ask, and that's why I think that for centuries, for whatever, people have always used stakes through the heart, iron stakes through the heart, or crosses to get demons, or to back the vampires up, or to kill the vampires, or a silver bullet to kill a werewolf. I know we kind of take it to monsters and stuff like that, but we have to acknowledge that throughout history, because you brought up a lot of these other hybrid type creatures throughout history. I think that where vampires and witches and all this stuff goes right along with the fairies and with the tree people and all this other stuff, with the mermaids and all this other stuff. And I do think that there is power in the name of Christ, because Christ is king. So that's where I get out with all that.
That's an interesting idea. I have another theory for as to why they don't like iron, because I think they were locked away. And I think that for 1,000 years they were locked in chains, and I think the chains were probably that of iron. And I have a feeling that they're like afraid of iron because of that. It's just a reminder of the things that held them maybe in some capacity, because it says like Satan in Revelation 20, it says holding in his hand a great chain. He sees the dragon, that is that ancient serpent who is the devil, and bound him for 1,000 years. I think they were all bound with it. I think they were all bound in like some excuse me. I think they were all bound in some like chain, like iron thing. I think it's like a reminiscent reminder of the iron, because it says also that Jesus will come and he will rule with an iron rod. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it says in the end times he rules with an iron rod. So I think the iron rod is a reminder to the authority of Christ in a sense, and also iron is in our blood, and Jesus is the blood.
So is plasma.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. So interesting. But it's like, that's a reminder of the blood of Christ, bro. So like iron to demons, I think maybe is just a reminder of the chains and of Jesus and of blood, and of like, it's like a fear thing to them, I think, to some capacity. And they just don't like that. Some demons probably don't bother them a whole lot much, because I've met some really powerful ones. I've met some ones that whatever, but other demons, I think maybe they're a little psyched out by it, and it probably freaks them out. It probably just isn't something they like, we'll say the least. They highly despise it. But, the fairies, they also were metal workers. And this were actually like the tinkers. Have you ever heard of the term tinker? What a tinker was? The tinkers were the metal workers back in the day that would go through and fix your pots and pans, because they were like elvish, and they believed, have you ever heard, I don't give a tinker's cuss or a tinker's curse? That's like a figure of speech that used to be around. And it was because the tinkers had magical powers, and they could like curse people, and they'd fix your pots and pans. They were kind of like gypsies. And this is actually where we get the term Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell came from the terms of the tinkers. Okay. And these were like workers of metal. They were Nephilim offspring, elfish people that learned the ways of metalworking, that like controlled things. And so you look, and then, but further down the line, you realize like they were working on metal. So there is a connection to that, but also iron burns fairies, it says, right? So it wasn't like they were using, there was a certain metal they just didn't touch. It was like iron. I guess they didn't like iron for some reason. But like there's like all these kind of things related to it. And it's interesting you mentioned the gases and the noble gases. That I don't know if you know this, but there's 200 like craters on the earth. You know about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's like about 200 fallen angel sort of all in all named or whatever, or not named, but like referenced in the book of Enoch. And you're like, huh, why is there about 200 craters, about 200 fallen angels? It makes you wonder if those craters were spots where the fallen angels came in on the atmosphere, right? And that, you know, you mentioned Okaterium. Like the Okaterium is like the vessel that the spirits have to hold. And so like I deal with demonic objects quite often. Demons love objects. I'm gonna tell you right now, they love metal. They love metal. And I've wondered why, and I've come to the conclusion they love rocks, they love metal, they love shiny things that you're never gonna get rid of. They love stuff that you'll never ever get rid of. If you'll never get rid of it, demons love it. And so, but they don't really like soft objects. They like hard objects. They like hard, shiny objects. They like rocks. They like watches. They like jewelry. They love jewelry. Demons love jewelry. Just a side note. So that's like
To
their
get rid of my
favorite thing.
necklace.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they love that kind of stuff, bro. They love that kind of stuff. Like straight up, dude. I had a guy that had a sickness. He had a cross that he took out of his from his grandmother who died. Okay. And had a tumor right after she died. And he started getting sick with a tumor. Ended up praying, rebuking, casting the demon out. But the first thing I said before he did, I said, you know what? You're going to need to take that cross off. It was like a Catholic, whatever, cross of the beads or whatever. And he was like, why? And I was like, just take that off for me. And he was like, okay. So he takes it off and he holds it in his hand. And I'm like, you need to set that down on the table. And he was like, okay, why? And I was like, we're going to deal with that in a minute. And we set it down. And then I hear in the spirit, I hear his grandmother gave it to us. And I'm like, the heck was that? And I was like, and we're probably going to smash that. And he's like, and I was like, and I know your grandma probably gave it to you, right? And he was like, what the? He's like, how did you know that? He's like, totally freaked out. He's like, and I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you right now, bro, demons are in that necklace. And we end up praying. The dude ends up getting healed. And at the end of it, I'm like, you ready to smash that necklace? And we find out, I'm like, where did that necklace come from? He goes, I took it off my grandmother out of her hands when she died in the hospital after he was in there with her. The spirits that killed his grandmother went into that cross necklace that he put on his neck, and the spirit of death started killing him right after they killed her. And they were about to kill him. And we end up praying the demons off and crushing the necklace afterwards. But like, demons don't play fair. They love jewelry. They don't care it's a cross. That means nothing to them.
Yeah,
They're like, it's just an object of idolatry.
I coached
Say
Little
what?
League baseball. I was going to say, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I coached Little League baseball, and one of the parents of one of the kids that I coach, he was telling me that he bought an old gun, and that old gun had some sort of a negative energy with it. And he said he didn't want to get rid of it because he's a gun collector, and it was a very important piece to him. But he said as soon as he got it, all these demonic things started happening in the house. Like things started floating, shadows started appearing all the time. Like he said, he was finally, him and his wife were like, we got to get rid of this thing, because they realized that it had some sort of a negative charge to it, some sort of a negative energy that surrounded it or used as a vessel. So that's interesting to think.
Yep, demons love to make objects their home. That's their Okaterium. And I wonder if, well, you mentioned the noble gases. I'll get to that in a second. But here, check this out. Okay. Deuteronomy 4:15. Ready? I'm just going to read you the Bible. Ready? Deuteronomy 4:15. You saw no form of any kind the day the Lord spoke to you at Horeb out of the fire. Therefore, watch yourselves very carefully. This is God speaking to the Israelites. Watch yourselves very carefully so that you do not become corrupt and make for yourselves an idol, which is an image of any shape. Did you hear what I just read? An image of any shape, whether formed like a man or a woman, or like an animal on the earth, or like a bird that flies in the air, like, or like any creature that moves along the ground, or any fish in the waters below. Isn't it funny? We have the Christian fish, and then we have the Christian dove. Like, bro, what? And when you look up to the sky and see the sun and the moon and the stars and all the heavenly array, do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshiping the things the Lord your God has appointed under all nations under heaven. So this is literally, and as for you, the Lord that took you and brought you out of the iron smelting furnace, that's interesting, iron again, out of Egypt, to be the people of his inheritance as you are now. So basically, I mean, if people miss that, I don't know what to describe it, but it says, so that you do not become corrupt and make for yourselves an idol, which is an image of any shape, whether formed like a man or a woman, or like an animal, or on the earth, or like a bird that flies in the air. Like, bro, God is not a fan of shapes that represent him, I don't think. And I've come to the conclusion that God don't care about crosses. God don't care about none of that. Like, he's within you. He's within us. He's in your heart, bro. He loves you and he's in you. He ain't in a cross. He ain't in an image. He ain't in a thing. And there's a lot of deliverance ministers that like to use crosses. They're like, come out in Jesus' name. It's fake. That's nonsense. It's bullcrap. I know. I deal with the demons. I've talked to the demons. I've met Anubis. I know a lot of demons. I've met them. I met them. They recognize me at this point. Like they're not. They don't care about your crosses. They don't care about nothing of that. And it's like we get so caught up in this physicality of spiritual world, but Jesus literally said, stop being religious, basically. Like it's about the spirit. God says, it says he looks to and fro for those whose heart is truly his. It says the true worshipers will worship in spirit and in truth, not in crosses and in logic, spirit and in truth. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I just have a very perspective is just like, maybe that works for some people at some point, and maybe some demons run from it. I don't know. Honestly, my view is like, dude, I don't even care. Like, just like, I'm like, demon, you're gonna obey me. You're gonna do what I say, regardless. And like, they can't stand that. I think that's the more terrifying thing, because some people are like, oh, we gotta get the holy water and whatever. And I'm like, bro, I don't even like none of that. That seems like it's a little too witchy seeming to me sometimes. And so I'm just like, whatever. But but it is interesting, like you mentioned like the gases. I've often wondered about the demonic spirit, because I deal with demon spirits quite often. Sometimes they will have a scent, they will smell. And I've had this happen several times. When we cast the demon out, it just like smells weird or
Like
off or
sulfur.
whatever. Sulfur, it will smell like a hospital sometimes, like weird. It smells like death, dude. I've had all kinds of weird smells that come out when we're praying, casting demons out. And like we'll all smell it in the room. It'll just fill up the room sometimes. And there's things that I've seen that are just crazy, but I've come to the conclusion that it's not physically happening. Anything physically that you're experiencing is a spiritual thing. It's not actually smelling even. I don't even think it's actually smelling. I don't even think it's actually physically there. I think it's in our mind. It's being perceived this way in the spiritual realm, and it's being translated into something that we think is real, but it's metaphysical. And so like when the stars fell, though, I do wonder about that, because this is a really advanced thought process. So for those that are watching, already think I'm crazy. This is gonna get crazier. Like
I like to try to go deep with stuff, because I want to know where things come from. Like it's not enough for me to just say, oh, that's spiritual. What does spirit mean? What does spiritual mean? Why do we exist as light and they exist as darkness? That kind of stuff. So I like to go deep with those kind of questions, because I think everybody listening wants to know. Like, though they have the similar questions to like, where are these things coming from? Like, we're tired of hearing paranormal stories. Like, I love paranormal stories. They're entertaining and stuff, but I'm like, I've heard enough. I understand that this thing is paranormal. This thing is supernatural. I want to know how they're coming into our reality, all this stuff. And so it literally takes me back to the creation and all this other stuff. And I'm trying to dig into a scientific aspect of it, which is why I talk about noble gases and plasma and all this other stuff, because I don't think that they're separate. I think science and spirituality is pretty synonymous, actually, because God created everything. So, they can't, when you get all the way to the Big Bang Theory, they can't go beyond that. They don't know where matter came from. They don't know where antimatter came from. They don't know where antimatter went once it was annihilated by matter. And so there's a lot of questions there that they haven't answered. They don't want to go beyond the physical into the metaphysical, because that was taken out of our education system in the early 1900s, the late 1800s, by the Rockefeller, the General Education Board and Rockefeller education system, because they didn't want us being philosophers and they didn't want us thinking deeply about this stuff. Literally, they have quotes to where they say this stuff. But so I like to go there with those conversations. you can't ignore. We have all these things that exist in our. We're talking about language here, the etymology of words. You can't ignore all these things that have happened for centuries, and we modern people don't know what it means. Like I said, with the cemetery gates, why are they iron, right? Why are there the depictions of the cross or silver or whatever burning the curse out of these things? Like, those things existed. Why are there stories of mermaids? Why are there stories of vampires? All that stuff. All this stuff really happened because people wouldn't still be talking about it thousands of years later, right? I mean, of course it happened.
Yeah.
And so I like to kind of get into those why. I want to know why. And so I don't think it's too deep. So you can go as deep as you want is what I'm trying to get at here. Philosophical, be as philosophical as you want, or as scientific as you want. I don't care.
Well, I'm pretty science based myself before I got into this. Like, I was definitely very logical. I'm a product developer as well. So like, I did reverse engineering, and design and marketing and all kinds of different stuff. But
yeah,
like,
I have a marketing degree. I'm a web designer and photographer and all that stuff.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, I did like product development and stuff, and invented some things. So I'll tell you that, like, when you deal with this kind of stuff, this sort of spiritual aspect of things, it gets real weird. And there is a line that I've noticed that's pretty questionable. Like, here's my current consensus of what they are, because I've met multiple demons. All right. There's different kinds. They're not the same. They're not all the same. One demon told me it was 3,000 years old once. That's not as old as the earth is. So, like, why are you only 3,000, bro? Like that's not that old. Like, I was like, that's like baby demon, I guess. So like, they're still being born, actually. Demons are still being born. And there's a whole lot of mess to that as well. And I talk a little bit about that in my documentary Ancient Angels. But yeah, they're still being made manifest, and we're giving birth to them to some degree, and that's a whole nother subject that we can get into. But I will tell you that, when it comes to where they originated, I wonder if this reality, okay, demons are very weak in the physical sense, okay? Demons in the spiritual sense, very powerful. Demons in the physical world, our world, we are the kings. We are the controllers. We are the rulers. We are the kings. Anything we do in this world, we have authority over it. Okay? Demons are weak in this world. They're pathetic. Pathetic demons. All of you. It's funny. I love saying that to them. They're getting pissed if they hear this. Anybody watching it's demons just got so offended. Pathetic demons, all of you. Okay. So the anyways, interesting part is they're not physically strong. Okay? They're not physically strong. They're spiritually strong. They're mentally strong. They reside in the mental space. They reside in that sort of space is where demon is. Okay? Demons hang out there. That's their kingdom. So in order to come into this reality, they have to have a vessel. They have to have some type of vessel. Now, I just got done telling you how they love crystal balls, by the way. That's like a 360-degree view for a demon, which, by the way, when a demon's in a person and I'm praying and casting the demons out of the person, demon will manifest in the person and start talking to the person, unbeknownst to the person themselves. It will like black out. They'll black out. Demon comes to totally different accent. Their eyes will go black. They'll start speaking differently. They'll talk in different languages, bro. I have seen the most insane stuff, dude. I've seen people's eyes go white. I've seen them go black. I've seen them. Like, I don't even want to explain the stuff I see, because honestly, it sounds like fake when I talk about it. So like the reality is this: I've seen stuff that doesn't explain. You can't. It's like almost undefiable. Okay, I've seen someone come up off the ground. They didn't fully float, but I saw them stand up on their tippy toes and get dragged. And it was almost like, I guess you could say maybe they're taking micro steps that I just couldn't physically see, but they were on their tippy toes and being dragged like this, like that, bro. It was nuts, like nuts stuff, dude. And so like when you deal with demon stuff, you see some things that really boggle your perspective of reality. And so like after experiencing that, you're kind of like, okay, this is like next level stuff. Like this ain't a joke. This ain't a joke at all. And so you got to ask yourself, where does it come from? Why? How? How does this happen? How does this exist? And it's very questionably brings up a lot of theories. Well, the demons, they love crystal balls, they love jewelry, they love shiny things. when a demon is in a person, I've learned they can only usually see about like 5 feet in front of them. The demon in a person can't see a very large radius. They can't really hear much either. They can only hear like what's talking to them. So like if you're in a room with a bunch of people, the demon can only see the like within a 5-foot radius of demon usually. Again, not all demons are the same. So if there's people standing further in the room, demon won't even know. Demon in the demon possessed person, they won't even realize it. And so like I can tell you stories of how I know this and all the stuff related to it, but that's about what they can see. And then when demons are in objects, they can hear anything that bounces off that object and see anything, any light that reflects off of it. So they love shiny, hard rocks that people put on their shelves and their mantles in their warehouse or their building or their store or their house or their home. They love this stuff. They love these things because you just basically put up a 360-degree like lens reflector. They can observe everything going on in their house. So people that collect rocks, by the way, a lot of times they got demons. Like a lot of times, just a side note. Not saying everybody, not saying all the time, a lot of times. Like I have a friend who's a doctor, goes exploring. He like goes to schizophrenic people's houses. He knows when the client he has to check up on is schizophrenic because their house usually will have rocks all over their front door, like their front doorstep and their house. He'll be like, bro, go into a rock house. You know what that means? Like, oh, you're dealing with schizo. Okay, cool. That's a pretty gnarly demon. Demons love rocks. They love it. I don't know why. They love rocks. They love shiny stuff. And then like, here's a really interesting thing. We put rocks and crystals on shelves, like really high place, and we like want to put them up for everybody to see our shiny rock. And it's because people touch rocks. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just listening. Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I'll jump in later.
Yeah, the demons, people touch rocks and they can see. And when you touch a demonically infused object, the demon can see inside of you. It's like you touch it, and when you're touching the object, it's like the demon can like, it's like they have an ability to see inside of you what your heart is, what's going on when you touch the object that's demonically infused. And so, and then they can choose whether to go into you or to stay in the object. And it's like, and they teleport too. They don't just like move like we move. They have to teleport from one object to a person to an object. They don't move like in 3-dimensional space like we can. They move in a different way entirely. And it's like they know the subject when you're touching it or when you're speaking at it is being activated. That's how they kind of move, I've learned. It has to do with like unity of sound and unity of connection that allow them to sort of progressively move. And when it comes to like them coming into this reality, if they don't have a body since they're weak, they got to get in this reality somehow. So it makes me wonder if the stars floating in the sky, these balls of gases, all have a core, maybe an iron core, or maybe something related to their reminiscent state of existence, because Jesus rules with an iron rod. So there's something with iron from being a heavenly place. But if the fallen angels came into this earth, they probably came in and had to have an ocaterium. They had to have a vessel to enter into this reality. So they probably possessed these space rocks, or they were the space rocks. And then they broke into this physical reality, crash landed, and just stayed there until a human walked up and touched the rock. And once they touched the rock, the spirit was able to move from the rock into the person. So really the first people that were inhabited by a demon, they were the first fallen angels, were actually just people that touched these fallen rocks, that touched these rocks. That was the first spiritual, and it was probably like a whole spiritual. They probably saw the rock and it was probably burning and probably were like amazed. They probably went over to the rock and knew that they weren't supposed to touch it. But the moment they touched it, the spirit went into them, and the spirit then was able to inhabit this person with their ocaterium spirit. So it was probably the first time a demon possessed a body was a man touching a space rock. This is just a theory that I have been working. This is my current perspective theory of how this functions, dealing with demons from my personal experience of dealing with demonic objects.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that they have to transfer somehow through touch or whatever like that. But I do believe that they are. What's funny, man, is how it all originates is the idea of antimatter versus matter. And at the beginning of the creation of the universe, matter and antimatter were 1 billion parts matter, 1 billion parts antimatter, and then somehow one more particle of matter came into existence, and then it basically annihilated the antimatter. But people, people who study this stuff, they think that the matter, they don't think that it went away. They just don't know what happened to it. And if you look at the definition of matter, it's anything that has mass and takes up space. Well, what is mass? I believe that is this spirit world, this demonic empty space, this void. Because if you look at like the tendrils on a plasma ball, you know how the purple tendrils you get, the one you get from Spencer's, right? You touch it, and then there's a lightning line. It's a plasma line. Well, first of all, that plasma ball is filled with, it's a noble gas in there. I can't remember which one. It's like, it might be mercury or not mercury. It might be xenon or something. Yeah. Or neon. Yeah, there you go. And, so anyways, if you look at those purple tendrils, all that empty space around the purple tendrils would be the antimatter that helps create the matter. So I think that they exist in this realm of, again, in the scientific view, it's the dark energy that is expanding the universe. It's expanding the space. They call it dark energy. That's what I think that's what the antimatter is. It's dark energy, and they're constantly growing, and it's constantly expanding. But it only exists to create matter, to create us, to create life. And so that's kind of where, in my mind, it all originates from. And that's why I take it down that scientific sounding route, even though I'm a dummy and I don't know anything about physics or, geology or cosmology or astrology or anything. I'm sort of pulling at this thread to kind of figure out or help understand in my mind where these things might be coming from. But like I said, I think the two magnets, the sun and the moon, interacting with each other creates an induction, which creates the electricity that unlocks, and it happens all day, every day from not all day, every day on dusk and dawn. This is why a lot of paranormal activity happens at dusk and dawn, is because when the sun's coming across the horizon or lowering, it's unlocking those entrapped noble gases out of the magnetite. It's causing a friction in the iron that's
Why would
releasing
dawn
that.
and dusk do that?
When the sun is out during the day, it disperses the plasma, because I actually think that we're encased or engulfed in plasma. It sort of animates matter. Well, light animates matter. It helps us move our body and stuff. But there's this, like, fish don't know that they're in the ocean, right? The fish is just swimming around. I think that's the same thing for Earth. The ionosphere, that the atmosphere that makes up Earth is full of plasma. So when these gases come into our reality, they take the shape of the plasma. And there's evidence of this online with, like, they first have to come in as complex plasma, which is what Jeremy Corbell's jellyfish UFO. If you ever seen that, it's like an invisible blob that's kind of floating around. Well, that's a complex plasma. And when a complex plasma interacts with a magnetic field, it creates what's called a plasmoid or a plasma toroid. And those plasma toroids look like a single plasma toroid looks like a halo. This is where I think the idea of halos come from. And then they only come in at right angles. There was a guy named Winston Bostick who studied this, and he actually accidentally discovered this while he was studying magnetic fields. He was just playing around with plasma, and he started shooting these things into the plasma with a plasma gun. Into the magnetic fields, and it started creating these orbs of light. And he realized that these things were intelligent. They had a sentience to it. And they were also transmedium. They would float through walls, and they would go all over the place. Well, immediately the government gave him a contract, hired him, and then put a cap on it. It was like, all right, you can't be talking about this in public no more. He had signed NDAs and all this stuff. And for 40 years, he worked for the government, and nobody ever, he did no more plasma science that was facing, that was public facing.
Who was that? So, what was that guy's name again?
Winston Bostick. From 1956, he was doing studies on this. And so he was the one that discovered that plasma has to interact with the magnetic field to come into reality in the form of an orb or a light. So it initiates as gas. It comes out as an electric current. It hits a magnetic field, and it becomes plasma once it hits the atmosphere, and then it hits the magnetic field, and then it morphs into this reality. So that's sort of my understanding or theory on it, I guess you could call it, of sort of what's going on, how these things are coming into our reality. But I essentially think that they are the antimatter. They are the mass that makes up the matter. They are the void. They are the empty space. They're the upside down of our reality. Like when you look at an empty Coke can, remember how on Stranger Things, when Elle would crush the can, she was crushing the can, not in this reality, but she was crushing it into the antimatter reality. Does that make sense? Like she was going into the upside down and crushing the can from the inside.
I've never seen it. But
Oh, you never saw Strange Things? Okay. So, but that's sort of what I'm getting at is, like, if you think of it like a trampoline, you know, when you look at the surface of a trampoline, it's like flat. But if someone goes and sticks their fist up under there, it looks like a mountain if you're looking at it from eye level. And I think that fist is the antimatter. It's the mass that makes up the matter that brings us into this reality. So, but listen, man, I don't want to keep you much longer. I know you're getting tired. I'm
exhausting.
It is exhausting. Well, first of all, I've done like 3 podcasts a day. I've had my kids all day. I'm tired, man. I'm beat. Like literally, like I didn't know if I was going to be able to hold court tonight. But I'm glad I did get some of these things off my chest, because a lot of this stuff is new ideas too. Like I want to look more into the iron, and I want to look more into the silver and all that stuff, because I do think that there is something to it, especially with the iron that wraps the magnetite, that encases the magnetite. But yeah, man, it's been a great conversation.
Next time I have another conversation with a demon, I'll have a piece of iron on me and just like say, here,
See what
catch
happens.
this. I'll just throw it to him and see what happens. Like, here, hold this for me.
Have you ever heard of the idea of bottles trapping spirits? Like that's where you get the idea for genie in the bottle, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Do you use bottles or anything like that to trap spirits and get them out?
I send them to a snail sometimes in the deepest part of the ocean that they can find, and then I will cast them into the abyss, and that's about it.
Well, that's what Jesus did. He cast them into the pigs, and he was like, basically the pigs. He marched them into the water, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
I just say, hey, go find a snail in the deepest part of the ocean, and I say, and go into that snail. Like, and I was like, you leave the person, or I'll send them to the abyss, or I'll command them to destroy themselves. That one's a pretty gnarly one. But yeah, you can tell a demon to kill itself in a sense. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. You know, I've never. We'll see if I'll toss an iron. I'll get some little piece of iron and keep it in my pocket and toss it to next time I dealt with a demon possessed person. See if they're like like freak out.
see what happens.
They can't touch me. I know that I've had a demon possessed person try it. Like they feel like when I touch them, they feel like it's burning. Like when I touch demon possessed people, they scream, bro. They scream like, it burns. Like they think I'm burning them. Like when my hands touch them, which is pretty nuts. I don't even know where that comes from. I was just like, I figured that one out after doing it so many times. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I was like, I can put my hands on the demon possessed guy and they freak out. Like they like scream like it's burning. So,
well, once you cast these demons out, I mean, Jesus talked about keeping your house in order and then filling your house with light. Right?
Oh yeah,
because if you don't, then the demons will come back 7 times more or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So is there something that goes on after you cast out demons?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You try to help people fill their
yes, 100%. 100%. Okay. We had to deal with that all the time. Like, yeah, you can't just like, you know, you got to like, and you can't just there's people all the time come to me that are like, cast the demons out. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, I'm not going to do it for you. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, because like if I do it for you, it's going to get worse. Like your heart's not in the right place. Like, what do you like? We're going to cast the demon out, then you're just going to get like way worse. Like, no, dude, you don't belong here. I was like, go somewhere else. Like, you need to go read the Bible, come to the understanding of Christ, then come back when you're ready to like walk in purity. Like some people think that it's like McDonald's, like, oh, let's go get our demons cast out and we'll be fine. Like, no. You do that and you end up with more. Like they get pissed. They get real pissed when you cast them out of their home and then you go back to doing the same things you're doing. Like, no, that's not demon. Demon don't like that. Demon don't like that at all. Like they go get their buddies and they're pissed. So, you know, I just like, I send them to the abyss usually
Well,
though, but
what do you say to those who believe that it's not possible, that's only for Jesus to do, like Jesus or someone who he has taught to do that, like his disciples? Like, what do you say to someone who says, well, Mark 16:17 doesn't really, he's talking to his disciples. He's not talking to us as,
yeah, yeah, Mark 16:17, they said Jesus basically like, how are we going to recognize who is for you, Christ? Like, how are you going to recognize who are your followers? And he said, these signs will follow those who believe. All of those. It says, in my name, they will drive out demons. They will lay their hands
yeah.
on the sick people and they will get well. They can pick up serpents and scorpions. It will not hurt them. Says, and when they, drink anything deadly, they'll be fine. Like, and it's like, dude, he gave a list of things that he's like, this is will follow the Christians, those who believe. And in the 72 he sent out, and the 72 came back and said, Lord, Lord, even the demons obey us. So there's 72 plus the 12 disciples seem to be all having that authority. Sounds kind of like maybe we're all supposed to walk in that authority. I mean, like, I'm just kind of like, dude, I'm just gonna do what the Lord says, and I'm just gonna like pray and cast out demons and walk in the authority of Christ. And I mean, for those that are questionable of it, go to a schizophrenic ward, see if you can get in and talk to some demons. It's like, you think it's not real? Go have a conversation with some demons. Like, go talk to some demons, and then see, with the authority of Christ, go in there, try to like cast them out. I mean, you got some sickness in your life, try to speak to it like it's a demon. Just tell the sickness to leave. Right now, in the name of Jesus, anybody watching, I ask, Lord, that you give them the authority that they are supposed to walk in, and endow them with the authority to cast out demons. Right now, in the name of Jesus, give them the strength and give them the wisdom to do so. In the name of Jesus, amen. So right now, yeah,
Man.
there you go. Like, now you have it. Like, go, if you think you've got some sickness on you, tell it right now and say, in the name of Jesus, sick, get out of my body now. Leave me now. And you speak the demons, let me tell you, you speak the demons like you talk to dogs. It's not like get off the couch. Oh, I didn't get off the couch. It's still there. It's get off the couch. Get off the couch now. And then the demon obeys. So sometimes you got to tell it like an extra one or two times, but it'll obey with the authority of Christ when you understand the authority that you're supposed to walk in and the righteousness that you're supposed to walk in too. So now try it. Just say, in the name of Jesus, get off me, spirit, and speak to it. Get off the person right now, in the name of Jesus. Weaken that spirit right now, in the name of Jesus. So, you'll recognize it, and then you'll be like, whoa, this is kind of weird. Wow, I feel better. You're like,
do
whoa.
we do we have to know the name of the demon? Because
No,
Jesus asked specifically the name of the demon, and he
no,
said, we are legion, we are many. Do you have to know?
nope. You don't
You don't have
you
to
don't
know
need to
what
know its
kind
name.
of, maybe it's an alcohol demon or
You can say,
some other addiction to demon.
exactly,
Addiction
spirit of
demon.
addiction, get
Spirit of
off.
addiction.
Spirit of
Okay.
sickness, get off. Spirit
Gotcha.
causing cancer, get off. Spirit
Right.
causing anxiety, get off in the name of Jesus. Get out and go into the abyss now. Just like that. There's a spiritual wake that just went out of my throat, just went out of my mouth, and there was a wave that went out. We didn't even talk about bells, bro. We got to talk about bells too. Anyways, there's a whole nother subject.
Well, I'll have to
This
have
is
you.
like, there's so much more. You can bring, I mean, if you want, you can bring me back on. We'll talk again. Tell you some more
Yeah, I
crazy
want to talk
stuff.
about bells. I was going to have
Mhm.
what's the guy, Matt from Cultivate Elevate, on to talk about the bell stuff, but I think that there's a lot of power in the frequency and stuff like that. I really believe all that stuff. So the sound healing and all that, basically everything you're saying now, because when you're saying something, again, you're speaking vibrations into reality, and it's literally affecting these
Oh,
things.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
When people watch this, they'll feel it. They're
I
going to
hope
feel
so.
something.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, listen,
But yeah,
man.
yeah.
If do you have anything you want to plug or promote before we get out of here, and we'll just go ahead and wrap it up?
Yeah, follow me at Demon Erasers on YouTube. Ancient Angels podcast. I have a movie, Ancient Angels. You can go to ancientangels.com, talk about the Nephilim. And I've got, demonerasers.com. We pray for people, cast out demons, and Instagram, Demon Erasers. That's my Instagram's getting pretty big. My TikTok's like got 200,000 followers. It's all Demon Erasers. Everything's Demon Erasers. X, Demon Erasers. I got to be on, what's that other one, Rumble, here soon. I'm setting that up too, because they like to shadow ban people. So That's pretty
Well, I
much
think
it.
you're doing. I think you are doing the Lord's work, man. And I say it to a lot of people, and it sounds kind of weird when you say it to another man, because I don't think men get told often that I'm proud of you, you know. But I am
Oh,
proud of
thanks, bro.
those who are fighting against the darkness, man, in any way, even if that's not necessarily chasing demons out like you are, but also like just being good people to people in your community and things like that. I think that's another way to
Oh,
fill
absolutely.
their vessels with light and love and spirit and good spirit, Holy Spirit, and keep these things away from people. That's why it's so important for families to be together. That way you have a balance for the kids, and their vessels are always filled with love and light, and there's no room for negative entities to come into their world. So yeah, I'm
Yep.
proud of you, man. Like I said, I'm proud of even JT and everybody who's doing this kind of stuff. I love talking to you guys because it gives me a different perspective on things. I mean, I never thought that maybe we are the Nephilim. That's kind of a weird thought now to think about, but it's something that I'm going to go and really research and think long and hard about, because I've never given any, I've never seen any of the videos where you were talking about that, but that's very intriguing thought. So
yeah, and the gorillas are Nephilim with Down syndrome, so just watch out for that one too. I mean, like getting chromosomes, bro. Next time, if you bring me on again, we'll talk more about some other crazy genetic stuff, maybe.
Well, you're welcome anytime on the show, man. I appreciate you coming on. Literally, you can come on anytime. You can just message me, say, "Hey, dude, I got somebody." I don't have a huge audience, but it's definitely growing. It's growing fast on Spotify and Apple. I don't really do YouTube and Rumble or anything like that. I am starting to do more TikTok. I am starting to do more Instagram. So those are growing as well. But I do have a large presence on Spotify, and it's growing every day. And so you have a platform to come on and share whatever movies or whatever you're working on, man. You're more than welcome to come on and share those anytime. And by the way, I watched Ancient Angels. I downloaded it and watched it a long time ago. Yeah. So
dude, that's awesome,
guys.
bro. I appreciate it.
All right, go check him out. DemonErasers.com, Instagram.com/Demon Erasers. I believe Vimeo is where you guys had the Ancient Angels documentary.
Yeah, just ancientangels.com goes there.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll see you next time.
All right, later.
Later, dude.
Well, I'm standing at the crossroads. I don't know where to go. I'm losing control. Trying not to seal my soul. I'm standing at the crossroads. I don't know where to go. I'm losing control. Trying not to seal my soul. Can you point me in the right direction? God send me your blessing. I'm so tired of stressing. This music's turned to obsession. I got a long way to go to ease my pain. My clothes soaking wet, mixed with sweat and the rain. Going half insane. Wishing I could change all my mistakes, but y'all be half gone if all y'all had seen the things that I saw. Hallucinating from the alcohol, hoping I can stop my own fall. Gotta stand tall, overcome the sin. Walking down the dirt road, singing church hymns. Oh dear Lord, oh dear Lord. Well, I'm standing at the crossroads. I don't know where to go. I'm losing control. Trying not to seal my soul. I'm standing at the crossroads. I don't know where to go. I'm losing control. Trying not to seal my soul. I'm sitting back thinking about the memories. Now I don't know who's a friend to me. These people act like they can to me. Well, that's still a mystery. Devil wants me to lose my religion, but I won't stop, not without a fight. I won't give it. So I'm gonna sit down right here and pray and ask the Lord above to help me change my way. Today the world's filled with greed, envy, and hate. You're moving too fast, apply pressure to the brake. You can love me or hate, I'll bend but don't break. I'm at the crossroads trying to find my way. Can you help me? Oh, can you help me? Oh, well, I'm standing at the crossroads. I don't know where to go. I'm losing control. Trying not to seal my soul. I'm standing at the crossroads. I don't know where to go. I'm losing control. soul.